everyone. Today I'm going to be listening to a band called Witchcraft. It's my first time hearing them. And, well, we've passed Halloween by now, but might have been an appropriate band to choose to listen to on Halloween, right? Witchcraft. Anyway, I really know nothing about it, so I'm going to read the paragraph I have here, and then we'll dive in and listen. Sweden's Witchcraft are key figures in the so-called hard rock revival. On their fifth album, Nucleus, Witchcraft continued to carry the torch of 70s hard rock proto-metal bands while striving toward a broader sound. Like so many of the groups before them, Witchcraft drew inspiration from high fantasy, an aesthetic that manifests itself with the Renfair woodwind and string arrangements, and in the epic tales of wanderlust, misplaced faith, and heroic striving in the lyrics. Okay, that kind of gives me an idea of what I'm looking for. Well, this piece actually is called Nucleus, so it must be the title piece of the album. Let's just dive in and see how it sounds, and I'll be listening for all those fantastical elements. Guitar sets a story feeling quality. Storytelling feeling. It's a wooden flute. And I guess this is a good place to stop for the first pause, because this is a very clear musical pause that just happened. I want to talk about what I've just heard. As I said, or tried to say, made word salad of it as I was listening, this gave me an immediate feeling, an immediate sense of it's time to sit down and listen to a story. Let me take you on a journey that tells a story. We are going to travel somewhere. And that is due especially to the guitar. Somehow the way the guitar just plays these arpeggios, and the pacing, the shaping, the gentleness of it. At the same time, there's a sense of motion, forward motion and progression in a very calm, comfortable way. Gave me that impression almost from the first 2, 3, 4, 5 notes that I heard. And then, of course, the wooden flute came in, and then the cello came in a bit later, and that's one of the things that really stood out to me, is this cello is kind of crossing some boundaries here. What I mean is those dramatic slides from note to note on the cello. Really, whenever I hear one, it puts me in the mood of, I don't know, really romantic era, classical, where everything you just invest your whole soul in sliding from one note to the next. It's a really expressive, intense, deep experience musically. But this isn't really that sort of really inwardly focused, deep, intense, dramatic romanticism. It's more laid back. As I said, the guitar is saying, let's sit down and listen to a story. And so as I was listening, my way of experiencing those slides in the cello gradually shifted. And by the end, this wonderful little moment where it slides down and down and down. Let's hear this. It's great. Nice little da. It wasn't even the cello that slid down there. I didn't even recognize all that because I was so focused on how the cello slides from one note to the next. But it's more than just the cello doing the sliding. It was like, it's like you're watching a pebble, fly through the air, drop into the water, and continue to fall through the water all the way to the bottom of the pool. It's that feeling of, okay, this is going to be a journey which takes me somewhere, and perhaps it wants to make a specific point. Boing, and we're going to watch it. It's going to take our full attention, and boom, finally it will say it exactly what it wants to say. I don't know if that's really what's going to happen, but that's how I experienced this introduction. And then, of course, we have this great shift into a little bit more rocky style, right? Let's continue. The journey has begun. Okay, I was kind of letting my hands express how I'm feeling the music, and it was I don't know if I should say it was a surprise to me, because the music was telling me to sink some emphasis there. You saw my hand really gesture, and that was the moment at which the voice entered. Lucky armchair conducting moment, right?
When you open up to everything, it all comes down to believing nothing. Yet another truth to be swallowed.
So I was noticing and I was trying to demonstrate with my singing and my playing keyboard style what I recognized after a few minutes of being a significant riff or musical motif in the piece. Dum da dum da dum bum da 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 dum bum da dum bum dee 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 dee. And it was really drilled into us in the first part of this section. And then as the piece progressed, there were places where you maybe couldn't pick out that exact part, but I think it was always present. If it wasn't, it was at least there was room for it. In other words, this entire section of music and its incredible growth and the dramatic vocal delivery that starts to build and the multi-layering of instruments and everything, tonal colors is all centered around bum da dum bum dee 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 dum da dum bum dee 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 dum. And it's isn't it kind of incredible to notice how a piece that, I mean, it starts with this voice so calm here. Let's back up and hear this entrance of the voice. It's a little bit slower here. I guess they picked up the tempo a little bit as they moved through here.
When you
Listen to the voice.
to everything.
Yeah, it's sort of open up to everything. Warm and inviting. By the time we get to the end, this
Picked up the pieces and carried on somehow.
and you have different harmonizations layered on top.
Oh, and I'm still nagging, but I found some kind of peace.
You hear? Even with all of this swirling around.
Strengthened and renewed in my
And then this, suddenly, I'm expecting dum, but instead we hear this with the guitar entering. That was probably the biggest surprise of all in this piece so far for my ears. Dum. I was expecting to hear this note, dum. Dum. I think we hear this note instead. Shifting up to a different key, there's this incredible feeling of dissonance and displacement in that moment. It's kind of welcome because we've settled so securely into this riff and this tonal space. When that comes, it's incredibly jarring, even though there's really not, you can't say that it's incredibly unusual harmonically in any sense of the word. It's just shifting the pitch a little bit higher and, of course, changing it because now from all this grand, dramatic expression, we're dropped back to the sort of wiry tone of the plucked guitar strings. But I love this moment here. To me, it's incredibly expressive. Now, before I go on, actually, no, I'll save my commentary on the text until the end.
Strengthened and renewed in my
So incredibly calm. You notice it's a little variant of this figure we had. Dum da dum da dum bum dee 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 dee. This you can hear little snippets of that. It's just reformatted to be a little bit different, but instead of a little more up and down. Now setting itself up as another riff of its own identity. Choral voices. Isn't it interesting how music like this has such an effect on us, not just emotionally, but almost psychologically, ideologically. As I'm listening to this, what do I hear? How do I feel it in myself? How do I perceive it intellectually? What do I feel happening in the ideas shaping in my mind as I listen to this? And this music, well, as I read at the beginning, it has a lot of fantastic elements, right? This idea of a fantasy world and what did it say? Ren Fair, wanderlust, misplaced faith, heroic striving, this sort of epic story quality. That's pretty obvious, isn't it? Now, let's step beyond that for a minute. What is this music telling us here? It's a piece of music. I'm talking about this section specifically, although we could broaden it out. But let's stick with this one because I feel it so strongly in this particular portion of the piece. The musical motif, the instrumentation, the repetition, the addition of choral voices, which are really, really weighted towards the lower range. This is like a men's chorus or something like that. It takes on a sort of group quality, meaning if you were to set this to a movie, this would be perhaps the backdrop to, I don't know, some ancient peoples preparing for battle and the feeling of everybody coming together and working together and moving together, taking up their positions. It's this feeling of we are united, we are a people, we are one, and we are moving and our goal is one. Listen and see how this impacts you. And I'm curious to hear in the comments if you perceive it the same as I do, because I find this incredibly fascinating, the way music impacts the way we think and perceive ideas. It's epic. The drums. setting things in place. The men's voice. We're seeing an army take shape down in the valley. At the same time, you can't really say that it's militaristic. It doesn't really have this militaristic quality. It's not a piece of music that is a march or anything like that. It's not violent. It's not aggressive, but it is this solid placing of many moving as one. Even if we change the scene in our minds, even if we're looking at a village, again, to me, it's always down in the valley from something like this. I'm looking at a village down in the valley. I'm seeing different activities, people moving different places, and that sort of thing. And still, it is a unit, and each one has their own place in this unit as a whole. This is a powerful element within music. Music has the ability to impact our outlook on life and to communicate ideas and ideology even without lyrics. And I find it fascinating to have this music after these lyrics. And I guess I have to get into the lyrics now a little bit, just read a couple lines which stood out to me. Plow through the fields of the Nephilim, reclaim the status of the blind, reinvent the doors of perception, the seed of Nucleus, the ends in your mind, struggling with this rigid system of structure and power, squaring off into the next impossibilities. In this conceptual, altered affection, it filters out. I used to think they were fools, but now I can sympathize. Okay, not only is that a mouthful, but it reminds me a bit of even somebody like, let's say, John Lennon playing with words, and, let's say Strawberry Fields Forever, a little bit of this, a little bit of that, and is it really supposed to make sense or not? But again, the idea that we gather from this is that there is a sort of power struggle. There is a struggle against the status quo, or there is the feeling of being bound by a system. And this line, squaring off into the next impossibilities. To me, that is so colorful. Squaring off. Okay. Into the next impossibilities. There's so much within that line that could be unpacked and explored. And I find it really interesting to hear this sort of writing, this sort of lyrical content placed in the context of this type of music, and you start playing with the ideas that it brings about and the message that it carries, and it's just fun to dig into. All right, let's keep going. Part of this music, even though they're so simple. starting up here. Okay. The musical material that I had just been talking about, when that guitar came in, it became the foundation off of which the guitar worked. And it was really a lovely guitar solo, I guess I would say. It had feelings of like the classic rock guitar style, which of course makes sense based on what I read about the band. But pursuing this idea that music was representing a group movement, a unity. You could feel that it started to have this sense of inevitability, inescapability. It moves and it marches on and it progresses and it's unavoidable and it's unstoppable. At the same time, there's this guitar wailing and singing above it all. And it could be several things. It could be kind of a voice which doesn't want to be bound and locked. Or it could be something incredibly beautiful where this is the society and this is the voice of freedom of expression within that. There are lots of different ways of interpreting it, right? And it a lot depends on what we want it to say. But at the same time, it's very clear that it is two different elements. The music splits there. You have the inevitability, and then you have this free spirit above it all. And then, backing up just a little bit, suddenly all that was soaring above it becomes one with it and takes up the same refrain. Well, it's been quite a while since I listened to a piece of music that was so simple, so unimaginative, and yet so incredibly expressive and conveyed the message so clearly within the music itself. Um, in fact, I could say this music is so peaceful and comfortable and easy, and yet what it expresses is actually incredibly painful, almost bordering on tragic. So, what do I mean by that? Well, let me read the last stanza in the lyrics that I have here, and I want you to think about what you just heard, what I expressed about how I feel the music, and how we just heard it end. And notice how incredibly accurately the music expresses what the lyrics said. Neither a sideway or a gateway, nor shortcut path. In other words, inescapable, but you can't get around it. And even that free voice fell into line. Self-experience ended by us. Your truth is no excuse for abuse. Well, you stumbled and fell at the finish line, picked up the pieces that you left somehow. It's still nagging, but I will find some kind of peace. Listen to how that voice towards the end is crying out so passionately and emotionally, and it's coming deep from within. Strengthen and renew my beliefs, and then the peaceful ending and calm closure. As I said, the music is not at all groundbreaking in any way, and in some ways it feels kind of commercial and simplistic, and yet it expresses this so incredibly powerfully that I feel like they did a very fine job conveying this message. And actually, the music helps make sense of the lyrics, because if I just read through the lyrics, I come to the end and I think, okay, and do I need to sit down and try to interpret each line, understand what really are they talking about? The music explains it and clarifies the message for us. And, well, music has the ability to do that. That was my first exposure to Witchcraft through their song Nucleus from the album Nucleus, and really quite an experience. I'd be curious to listen to some more of their music at some point in the future and see if they have what else they have, if every piece they have is so well paired, lyrics to music. I have no idea, but maybe we'll find out sometime in the future. I'll see you soon.